Greetings, Galactic Jedis, Freedom Fighters, and Patriots. Welcome to my Monday night White Alliance update. Boy, do I have some great intel providing more evidence that both the government of Israel and governments of Iran are controlled by the Khazarian mafia, the same elites that have been running our world for thousands of years. Not only am I going to give today a geopolitical update as to what's really happening with the Iran-Israel conflict, but I'm also going to give you guys a brief history on this orchestrated war that was actually engineered, believe it or not, by the descendants of Cain. And just to give you guys a little heads up, I am using a better Wi-Fi today, so we shouldn't have any issues. It's going to be running smooth and clear. And yeah, also, since we are standing at the precipice of the greatest revelation in human history, the truth about who we are, where we come from, and everything that has ever been hidden from us is preparing to be released. For centuries, the world has been controlled by deception, but now the veils are lifting. The hidden forces that have manipulated humanity through secrecy and illusion are losing their grip, and the floodgates of disclosure are about to be opened. Welcome, everyone. Today is Monday, June 23rd, and we are steadily on a positive timeline trajectory. So everything's going well on a positive timeline trajectory, despite what the news is saying, despite what CNN is saying, and despite what you hear on the controlled internet, okay? So I do want to also, before I get into the Intel update, I do want to remind you guys that my courses for July are up for grab. If you have not had a chance to take a course with me, my website is ourcosmicorigin.com. I have only a few spots left for all three classes. I think Ascension 2.0 is almost filled. So with that in mind, I hope to see you guys on a webinar in about 2 weekends. And another thing I want to remind you guys is that the Folium product, which is a product that I've been using for a little over a year, almost 2 years now, is a product that detoxes the body from all metals, as well as parasites, radiation, allowing the mitochondria of the cells to heal, and then in turn allowing the healing process of the body to take place. So in that regard, yes, it does. It is the ultimate anti-inflammatory, and I always put the link in the description. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and get right into the presentation today, okay? Well, first of all, this is what Donald Trump tweeted just a couple hours ago. He says, "Congratulations to everyone. It has been fully agreed by and congratulations to everyone. It has been fully agreed by and between Israel and Iran that there will be a complete and total ceasefire. Approximately 6 hours from now, when Israel and Iran have worn down and completed their in progress. They are going to cease down. I'm sorry. Anyways, let me continue here. So for 12 hours, at which point the war will be considered ended. Officially, Iran will start the ceasefire, and upon the 12th hour, Israel will start the ceasefire, and upon the 24th hour, an official end to the 12-day war will be saluted by the world. During each ceasefire, the other side will remain peaceful and respectful on the assumption that everything works as it should, which it will." Trump said, "I would like to congratulate both countries, Israel and Iran, on having the stamina, courage, and intelligence to end what should be called the 12-day war. This is a war that could have gone on for years, and more so, it could have gone into nuclear holocaust and destroyed not only the entire Middle East, but but the world in general. And it didn't. Okay, it didn't, because the alliance did stop this, and never will God bless Israel or God bless Iran unless they are peaceful with one another." So this was coming from Truth Social a couple of hours ago from Donald Trump. And then he ended by saying, "God bless the United States of America and God bless the world." Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. So, in a historic statement, President Donald Trump confirms that America's total missile defense dominance after Iran's failed retaliation. 14 missiles launched, 13 shut down, one ignored, zero casualties. Trump calls for peace from a position of absolute strength. This isn't just news, this is the birth of the Trump doctrine in global warfare. Iran has officially responded to our obliteration of their nuclear facilities with a very weak response, which was expected, and have very effectively countered. There have been 14 missiles fired, 13 were knocked down, and one was set free because it was headed in a non threatening direction. Donald Trump says, I am pleased to report that no Americans were harmed and hardly any damage was done. Most importantly, they've gotten it all out of their system, and there will hopefully be no further hate. I want to thank Iran for giving us early notice, which made it possible for no lives to be lost and nobody to be injured. Perhaps Iran can now proceed to peace and harmony in that region. And I will, according to Trump, Truth Social, he said, I will enthusiastically encourage Israel to do the same. Thank you for your attention regarding this matter. So, according to Intel, in the last few days, there were 14 missiles, which was a full-scale symbolic retaliation from Iran, but luckily we were able to intercept it. 13 of them, at least one, again, did not have a target, so they just let that go. And one was allowed for psychological warfare at the peak. And that missile, the free one, this is before the ceasefire. This took place 2 days ago, guys. So this is before the ceasefire. So one missile, the free one, served a higher purpose to prove that America chooses what matters and what doesn't. It wasn't an oversight. It was a statement. Perhaps Iran can now proceed to peace and harmony in the region. And Trump said, and I will enthusiastically encourage Israel to do the same. In one announcement, President Trump proved again that the White House may have changed hands, but leadership is not in office. It's in action. His enemies will minimize. The media will deflect, but history will record Trump stopped a nuclear regime, which again, I believe that with this ceasefire, even though it's not being reported by the mainstream media, he will win a Nobel Peace Prize once is out that there is no longer conflict in the Middle East, and once the word is out that there's no longer conflict in Europe. Okay, so the alliance is working on neutralizing that to leave no casualties, and of course offer peace worldwide. So Trump's speech 3 days ago was surrender or be erased. This is before he targeted the nuclear facilities of Iran. And again, guys, this was a white hat operation, and I will explain why in a little bit. Trump did say in a speech, surrender or be erased. There would be either peace or tragedy. President Trump announces devastating strikes on Iran's nuclear sites that took place approximately 2 days ago. And so on June 22nd, 2005, President Donald J. Trump delivered a historic speech from the White House declaring surrender or be erased as the U.S. launched devastating strike on Iran's nuclear sites. And again, this was a white hat move in order to prevent what would have ended up in a third world war. There would be either peace or tragedy, he warned. Full speech video, of course, is included. For those that don't have Truth Social, check it out. But furthermore, according to insiders, Iran's exiled Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi is demanding the downfall of the current regime, calling for a full-scale revolution to bring change. And a lot of this has to do with the infiltration of the White Hats in both the Israeli governments and, of course, the Iranian governments to establish the ceasefire. He says he's prepared to lead a transitional government and assures that the Ayatollah will be given a fair trial once power shifts, and the choice is yours to take. In a different note, the U.S. Border Patrol agents have uncovered a massive underground smuggling tunnel stretching over 1,000 feet from Mexico into U.S. territory. The tunnel was equipped with advanced features, including lighting, electrical wiring, ventilation, and a track system. Authorities say it's one of the most sophisticated underground tunnels ever discovered along the US Mexico border. In addition to that, it has been reported that US Marshals have carried out the largest single child rescue operation in American history as a result of discovering this tunnel. Over the course of just 2 weeks, more than 60 little ones between the age of 9 and 17 were safely recovered from the hands of the child traffickers. The massive effort, coordinated with 20 different agencies, also led to the arrest of multiple suspects involved in the trafficking network. And so that's good news. That is good news. So apparently President Trump plans to make it clear to Netanyahu, going back to the Middle East conflict, that the goal is a deal, not another war. Okay. Iran worked with Qatari officials to coordinate the attack on the U.S. base in Qatar, not on U.S. soil, in Qatar, given prior warning to help minimize casualties. President Trump has launched a political action committee aimed at removing Representative Thomas Massie from Congress. Well, that makes a lot of sense because Thomas Massie is a huge deep stater. And then also another report came about that Anna Paulina Luna says that the United States should withdraw from the United Nations, which is a very, very good thing. And so, all right, good. Everything's fine. You guys could hear me. Clear picture. I will continue with the presentation. Okay. So, all right. So let's just say that this entire conflict between Israel and the Palestinians in general has been orchestrated for centuries, okay? Just within the last few decades, the world has witnessed heightened tensions between the government of Iran, okay, and I'm going to give you guys the history of this conflict, and Israel. To the global audience, these nations appear locked in perpetual state of ideological, religious, and military opposition. However, check this out, guys. Beneath the surface lies a more insidious truth. The Israeli-Iranian conflict is not a natural rivalry, but a carefully orchestrated proxy war fueled by ancient bloodlines and elite families who have long operated behind the curtain of world governments. These ruling elite factions, descended from the bloodlines of Cain and Nimrod, have manipulated both sides into playing roles that serve a much darker agenda: to ignite a catastrophic nuclear holocaust that would pave the way for global depopulation and centralized world government under a new world order. Okay, so that's what's happening right now. So a lot of this goes back to what is known as the ancient brotherhood of the snake, or the brotherhood of the serpent, which ties into Enki, all right, and the dual control mechanism that they established. So the elite families, many of whom trace their origins to Babylonian mystery schools and ancient priesthoods, let's just say corrupt ancient priesthoods, have always maintained power through a tactic known as controlled opposition. So by infiltrating the power structures of both Israel and Iran through secret societies, compromised religious institutions, and shadow financial networks, they created the illusion of enmity. Now, this is actually coming from Commander Valiantor, this report. Both governments, while publicly condemning one another, are in fact dancing to the same script written by globalist puppet masters. So the dual control mechanism ensures that no matter which side gains or loses power, the ultimate beneficiaries remain the same. The media, heavily influenced by these families, keeps the world in a state of fear by dramatizing each move, every missile, every drone strike, and every fiery speech, without revealing the deeper purpose behind the tension. So the ultimate aim of these engineered hostilities, because that's what they are, guys, they are engineered hostilities. The only people that are being eliminated are the innocent people in this whole thing. So the aim of these engineered hostilities is to create the perfect trigger for World War III. A direct conflict between Iran and Israel, particularly one involving nuclear weapons, would be catastrophic, not only for the Middle East, but for global stability. Such an event would cause massive economic collapse, widespread panic, and unprecedented loss of life. But for the elites, this is not chaos. It is order through destruction. As prophesied in their own doctrine of order out of chaos, as written by Albert Pike, who was a 33rd degree Freemason, a nuclear holocaust would create the necessary conditions for them to unveil their global government system, digital control grid, and transhumanist agenda. Transhumanist agenda. Well, like I said, at the highest level of this proxy war, we're really fighting a war with negative, invasive alien AI. Right? So the war would also provide cover for the rolling out of global martial law, digital currency systems, biometric surveillance. This is what they wanted, but it's not going to happen thanks to the alliance. And an AI-driven enforcement technology infrastructure, an AI-driven enforcement infrastructure. But fortunately, guys, there is a counter movement operating behind the scenes known as the Earth Alliance, who are the descendants of the Great White Brotherhood, the Order of Melchizedek, often referred to as the White Hats in modern times, comprised of positive factions within global militaries, intelligence agencies, and even elements of the spacefaring Galactic Alliance. These guardians are actively working to nullify the dark agenda. The White Hats are fully aware of the elite's long-standing plan to use Israel and Iran as sacrificial pawns in a larger game. They've intercepted communications, dismantled false flag operations, and there have been many, by the way, that would have been worse than what happened on September 11, 2001. Since 2020, you could say that the White Hats have been dismantling false flag operations, intercepting communications, thanks to Space Force, and most importantly, neutralizing nuclear assets that were intended to be used to escalate the conflict beyond the point of no return. Several nuclear launch attempts, both by rogue factions in Iran and hidden operatives in Israel, have already been thwarted through advanced off-world technology, and this is why the White Hats are in control, because they do have access to galactic technology and quantum surveillance. So this is not merely a battle between nations. It is a war between timelines. That's right, guys. This is a timeline war, okay, between those who serve domination through fear and those who protect humanity's right to evolve freely. The conflict between Israel and Iran is a smokescreen. Again, the real war is a spiritual and cosmic struggle for the soul of humanity and the earth. So the White Hats, backed by benevolent extraterrestrial allies and higher dimensional forces, are ensuring that humanity does not descend into self-destruction and does not descend into transhumanism. Their goal is not only to prevent nuclear war, but to help awaken the global population to the truth that they have been manipulated, deceived, and used as pawns by ancient powers hiding behind modern institutions. So what the world sees as conflict between Israel and Iran is in truth a scripted drama, a proxy war played out under orders from elite bloodlines determined to trigger a global reset through war. But their plans are being systematically dismantled by the White Hats and their allies. Humanity stands at the brink, not of annihilation, but of awakening. And so the truth is now surfacing. The war will not be won through missiles or politics, but through collective awakening and the dismantling of the control systems that pit brother against brother, nation against nation. The people of Israel and Iran do not hate each other. It's the governments that are making it so. It's the elites that do. And soon their empire of lies will fall. Okay, so this is an ancient blueprint for control. We could trace this conflict all the way back to biblical times. So the seeds of this conflict were actually sowed in ancient times. They were sown in ancient times by powerful bloodlines that could be traced back to the descendants of Cain and Nimrod. Figures that are normally associated as rebels against the divine order or as rebels against God and the creation of false, idol based civilizations, which gave birth to what we call today organized religions. These descendants infiltrated key regions of spiritual significance, including the lands that would become modern day Israel and Iran, because back then Iran was known as Persia. It was Persia. So their strategy was simple yet sinister. Divide the sons of Abraham, Isaac and Ishmael, right? The real sons of Abraham, or let's just call the real Israelites. And yes, the real descendants of Isaac and Ishmael is what the elites have always considered human cattle. They use the word goyim as described in my book, The Secret Government, Invisible Architects. So they've always been about creating a state of suffering for the true descendants of Israel and Isaac, which, by the way, are not living in Israel or in Iran. They're actually spread out worldwide, and most of them, according to Valiant Thor, have actually concentrated here in the United States. So the real descendants of the original Israelites are spread out geographically, right? And most of them are concentrated here in America. So by infiltrating the religious, political, and cultural structures of both regions, we're talking about the Brotherhood of the Snake, the cabal ensured that both Israelis and Palestinians, and by extension, Iran, as a major Shia power backing Palestinian resistance that would be caught in a web of unresolved tension. So they installed secret societies, manipulated royal bloodlines, and embedded operatives in both camps, both in Israel and Iran, to steer conflict, distort faith, and weaponize trauma. Israel became a geopolitical outpost for the Western-backed elites, while Iran was turned into an axis of resistance conveniently portrayed as a threat to justify endless war. The cabal's greatest triumph was convincing the world that the conflict between Israel and Iran is rooted purely in religion, all right, or territorial ambition, which is a lie, In reality, both nations have been puppeteered by the same hidden hand that could be traceable back to Cain and Nimrod. Israel's creation in 1948 was not only a return to a biblical homeland, it was part of a larger Zionist agenda, okay, influenced by the Rothschild funding and British intelligence design intended to steer conflict with the surrounding Arab and Persian world. Likewise, the 1979 Iranian Revolution, though it overthrew the Shah, was quickly co-opted by darker elements seeking to turn Iran into a perpetual enemy of the West and Israel. By maintaining both Israel and Iran in a state of permanent alert and mutual hostility, the cabal created the perfect powder keg. Proxy wars in Lebanon, Syria, Yemen, and Gaza have served as rehearsal stages for the ultimate confrontation, an apocalyptic war designed to engulf the world in chaos and fear. Well, this is all part of the Luciferian agenda, right? The orchestration and ignition of the World War III is a Luciferian aspiration, okay? The concept of world war is not new. It was laid out in letters attributed to the 19th century Freemason Albert Pike, which detailed the need for 3 world wars to bring about a one world government. So the third war, according to this blueprint, would pit political Zionism against the Islamic world. This very prophecy now appears to be coming to life with Israel and Iran on the brink of nuclear confrontation. It is the fulfillment of a dark ritualistic plan meant to usher in a global collapse so that the cabal could be built back better, but under their absolute rule. So, nuclear war is the final card. The cabal's desperation stems from their impending defeat in other areas. So, global awakening, which is one, the failure of pandemic control, which we stopped, and the not us but the alliance, and the crumbling of fiat economies. Okay, the cabal knows that they no longer control that, and they can't. So nuclear war is their final card. Okay, so by provoking a nuclear exchange between Iran and Israel, which was the agenda prior to the alliance 2 nights ago, prior to them taking out those facilities, despite of what the news says, okay, Trump is not igniting a third world war. Trump didn't start a third world war. It's in fact all leading to a ceasefire. Okay, it's all working in the hands of the alliance and the people. Okay, so again, by provoking a nuclear exchange between Iran and Israel, which was the plan for the deep state originally, they actually hope to reset the global stage in a final bid for totalitarian AI control. But there's one force that they did not account for, of course, and that is the fact that this world is under God's control thanks to the Earth Alliance slash Whiteheads and the Galactics. Okay, so again, the Whiteheads, the reason they were able to be 10 steps ahead of the cabal in igniting a third world war is because the Whiteheads have actually, you could say, been implementing advanced quantum intelligence technology, galactic technology, advanced surveillance systems in order to nullify and you could say pinpoint every attempt by the deep state to initiate a third world war. And believe it or not, guys, the alliance have actually been thwarting numerous false flags for the last 5 years, ever since 2020. We were supposed to have a lot of false flags events that were going to make September 1st or September 11, 2001 look like candy. So, yeah, they thwarted a lot of false flags operations and nuclear launch attempts that were meant to escalate the Iran-Israel crisis into a global war. So the Whiteheads understand that a nuclear conflict would not only destroy millions of lives, but would actually fracture Earth's planetary grid and destabilize the entire solar system's energetic balance. And yes, they know that because the Galactics did breach the Whiteheads, that they have to work together to make sure that there is no nuclear war. Okay. So the Whiteheads are acting not only in the interest of global peace, but in service to the one infinite creator, okay, whose plan is to raise Earth into a higher dimension and not let it fall into darkness. So while the war between Israel and Iran is very real on the surface, the deeper layers reveal a scripted drama authored by ancient bloodlines and executed by the cabal to bring about the end of the current world order by force and fear. Yet their plan is faltering, the cabal's plan. Humanity is awakening, and more are seeing through the illusion. So, with the Whiteheads disrupting nuclear agendas and dismantling cabal control structures, the stage is being set not for the Third World War, but for global disclosure, peace, and ascension. This war was orchestrated again long ago, but it is being stopped today. The time of darkness is ending, a new light is breaking through, and this time the script ends not in destruction, but in divine liberation, in divine liberation. And I still have a clear screen. I still have good Wi-Fi. I'm so excited. Yes, let's continue with the update now. So, what really happened a few days ago with Iran? Right? Let's talk about that a little bit as I continue with what's really happening. Is that let's see, where is it at? Okay, here we go. Um, so what happened was, okay, so apparently President Trump, flanked by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Vice President J.D. Vance, and the razor-sharp mind of General Dan Raisin Kane, delivered not just bunker busters, but a direct hit to the financial pulse of the globalist cartel behind Iran's decades-long enrichment charade. Okay, let's talk about this a little bit. So, according to this report, the real target wasn't uranium; it was the elite's vaults. Okay, that was according to what's really happening. So, Fordo was more than centrifuges, right? It was a fortified bank vault of clandestine tech and hard drives stuffed with off-ledger transactions linking Tehran to the same transnational financiers who bankrolled every color revolution and currency raid on Earth. So 6 precision GBU 57A/B perpetrators shredded 40 meters of concrete, vaporizing a data cache that tied London bullion brokers, Frankfurt bond conduits, and Shanghai crypto funnels to Iran's Revolutionary Guard. So the elites lost their black budget accountant in 4 sizzling seconds, and they are howling in closed door panic sessions across Davos chat channels this morning. So intelligence intercepted June 18 laid out a midnight contract. The cabal's asset managers agreed to exchange 300 kilograms of 90% enriched uranium, which was already housed in Natanz, for a trench of programmable CBDC tokens issued by an unmarked Swiss node, a digital war chest earmarked to crash the dollar and flipped the 2026 election map by hyperinflating battleground states. So they were trying to do the opposite of the EBS. They were trying to establish the CBDC. That was the end game if they would have launched a nuclear holocaust. Okay, so Trump's team caught the upload path in real time. Thank God. He didn't wait for a UN subcommittee to debate sanctions while the elites moved gold under the Alps. Instead, he greenlit B-2 spirits out of White Man synced with Ohio-class subs lurking 400 miles off Bandar-e-Abbas. Result, Iranian enrichment capacity pulverized, cabal financing conduit severed. That's a good thing. So that's what happened on Saturday when the United States took out those facilities. Okay, this is deeper than just taking out facilities. So this was called Operation Lance. Okay, they called it Operation Lance. And the details, these are details that you will never hear on CNN, right, or mainstream media. So these are the details. Stealth Pierhead 3 B-2 penetrated Iranian radar at 180 feet AGL, spoofing transponder signatures as medical evac flights until the final 30 seconds. Okay. Another detail, digital smokescreen. Space Force launched a transient satellite denial burst. This is how they were able to take out those facilities. Okay, these are the details, guys. They employed what is known as a digital smokescreen. So this means that Space Force launched a transient satellite denial burst, blinding 5 Chinese Debao birds hired by Tehran to live stream proof of strike to elite war brokers in Zurich. Another thing that they did is a sub-launch storm. The USS Kentucky fired 12 TLAM-N derivatives with novel microwave payloads that scrambled Natanz underground fiber grids milliseconds before the kinetic impact, ensuring zero data exfil. All right, another thing that they did was Israeli ShadowNet. Unit 8200, the Unit 8200 jammed Iranian quad force phone traffic. I'll repeat that again. The Unit 8200 jammed the Iranian quad force phone traffic, trapping top enrichment scientists in hardened bunkers and preventing evacuation of documents that the elites were desperately trying to leverage on. Okay, interesting. So every phase executed under total radio silence. Every phase executed under total radio silence. So by 2:46 local time, June 22nd, Fordow's roof plates erupted like a still volcano. At about 2:51, Netan's retrifuge halls caved inward. And at 2:59, Esfahan, these are the sites in Iran, Esfahan lit the horizon. The mission clock from first bomb bay to final missile splashdown, 13 minutes, 22 seconds. So no other military on earth can actually synchronize destruction with such surgical finality. All right. Precisely why the elites have spent years funding think tank hit pieces calling for America's post superpower downsizing. And then last night, those white papers turned to confetti. Okay. The papers that the elites were trying to use against the alliance. Okay. Um, So this is another report that I was able to uncover was Brussels at around 3:15 CST reported that ECB emergency calls pinpoints an unexplained 800 billion liquidity vacuum. Insider chatter traces it to blackout trader nodes once mirrored inside Fardo's subterranean data farm. Also, Beijing at around 9:20 CST, Politburo Standing Committee summons Iran's ambassador, furious that their belt and rod uranium guarantee dissolved overnight, torpedoing a secret oil for nukes swap slated for next quarter. Another thing was the NYSE pre-market. Gold futures skyrocket past 3,100 as Cabal bullion custodians scrambled to cover physical shortages exposed by ceased ledgers showing double pledge bars. Trump's tariffs from April have already funneled fresh ounces into Fort Knox. His move now looks prophetic. Okay. So, um, in addition to all of this, has been reported that Thomas Massey waves a pocket constitution on X, ignoring Article 2 war powers that the founders wrote the days exactly like this. Also, Candace Owens links Miriam Andelson's donation as a proof of derangement, yet omits that Andelson cut ties with World Economic Forum patrons after the January 2025 inauguration shakeup. In addition to that, cable pundits parrot escalation. A white half. Their sponsors sit on the very ESG funds tied to Iran's now destroyed crypto exchange. Okay, anything else that came in? Oh, yes, this is good. So, Trump's unapologetic broadcast, coded really check. Okay, standing at the White House lectern precisely at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, Trump's 4-minute address hammered three raw truths. Iran and Israel are both the bully of the Middle East. All right, it's plain and simple. He's calling them both out. Why? Because both the Iranian government and the Israeli government are controlled by the Rothschilds, right? And so now they must make peace, right? Because the cabal, the alliance has, you could say, neutralized their efforts at launching nuclear strikes. And that also includes Israel, by the way. And this is not being reported, right? This is a covert operation where um, white hat military is actually moving into Israel to also do the same. And this explains why now there's going to be a ceasefire, okay? What it looks like to me, guys, is that the alliance is actually overthrowing from within the Israeli government and the Iranian government. Okay, so I don't know when all this is going to be completed, but it's heading into that direction. Okay, so um, let's continue here. So, so Iran's silence today was not patience; it was a paralysis. Supreme Leader Khamenei inner circle fled Tehran at dawn toward an undisclosed Caspian safe zone, escorted by Russian flagged Mi-8, reportedly chartered through shell firms tied to oligarchs already sanctioned by the Trump Treasury. So they know a second wave seats itself on airborne alert right now, okay? And any ballistic retaliation will trigger Lightning Gate, an operational package rumored to include EMP tuned warheads targeting Revolutionary Guard command bunkers and, crucially, offshore servers hosting the cabal's shadow ledgers. Okay, that's also good news. More so, Face Delta. U.S. Cyber Command releases fragments of encrypted archives seized in Fordo, displaying proof of European central banker collusion in laundering terror funds disguised as climate bond futures, rather. Trump's January executive order authorizing strategic petroleum draws will slam oil below $50, bankrupting the intermediaries who took 40-year futures positions banking on an Iran Israeli regional war. So the emergency broadcast system is, you could say, going to be bypassing hostile networks, delivering raw intel to every American screen, dissolving mainstream narrative control in a simple push. That is still part of the agenda, right? To expose the truth. So it has been prophesied about that there will come a time where the good people of the earth, who we call today the Alliance, would actually expose all the evil that has been going on. So that's happening on the positive timeline trajectory. Okay. So we could say that the elites fear, what the elites feel the most is more than just war, right? It is their exposure. So apparently, their empire has thrived on possible deniability. Last night ripped away. Okay, let me explain. Let me start all over again. Okay, a sovereign US president, unchained from transnational entanglements, demonstrated the will to annihilate a keystone node in their underground economy and broadcast the success before they could even spin it. So every boardroom from BlackRock to Beijing knows the playbook. Okay, to Beijing in China, they all know the playbook. If Iran can be neutralized, which is what's happening now, in 13 minutes, right, which is what happened, any clandestine hub from a Luxembourg data vault to a Congolese cobalt mine can vanish just as fast. Can vanish just as fast. Okay. So the final note to the doubters, right? The strike wasn't reckless. The strike wasn't reckless. It was surgical. It wasn't for show. It was for survival. The United States under Trump's compromising command just signaled that centuries of drip-fed enslavement by debt, fear, and engineered conflict that it would end here. Okay, that's what Trump stated. That what signaled. Okay, let me just repeat that again. The United States, under Trump's uncompromising command, just signaled that centuries off drip feed enslavement by debt, fear, and engineered conflict end here. Okay, so that's a good thing. That's a good thing. The elites gambled big on Fardo's invincibility. Fardo's, right? That's one of the facilities where they were developing weapons of mass destruction. They lost everything, right? Hard assets, dirty ledgers, and psychological dominance in one coordinated one coordinated overload of American ingenuity. And again, the only reason being why this is happening is because we are using superior technology beyond what the cabal is capable of using. Okay, we do have galactic technology. So, why the elites fear this more than just a war? Well, like I said, it's because they fear exposure, right? They fear the truth to come out. And quick reminder, everyone, that I do have a few spots left for my July courses. If you guys have not taken our Cosmic Origin, which is, I guess, one of my most deep, mind stretching course, we go into everything. We go into the entire history of the multiverse in detail. We go into the 12 living universes. We go into the intergalactic councils, describing who the different levels of beings are, the different types of advanced civilizations, the DNA structures that they use from eternity all the way to the finite. It is mind blowing, guys. Okay. Not to mention Ascension 2.0, taking Ascension to the next level, all available for only $100, right? I made it very affordable for everyone now. $100, you could access my course. Go to my website, or cosmicorigin.com, and I will see you guys in 2 weeks, right? Not this coming weekend, but actually a week and a half now. Not this coming weekend, but the next weekend on a webinar. With that in mind, I do want to give some shout outs. I love the fact that I have a clear picture. I'm having no internet issues today. Finally, after a month of struggling and trying different internet services, I'm actually clear and things are going well. I do see Clara Raid in the house, Lee Starr, Jill Hunt, Pauline. Starcadian is in the house. Welcome, Starcadian. We did miss you 2 nights ago on Saturday night. I did have a couple of trolls, but it's okay. You probably had something to attend to as it was Saturday night. But I'm so happy that Starcadian is in the house once again to smash the negative people. All right, let's continue here. Eddie K is in the house. William Ryan is in the house. Prince Royal is in the house. Ricky Lee 1111. Sylvia Vidal. Project Skyfall. I Am Love. Greg, Deborah, Susie Q, Joanna, Wolf Mother, MJF. And all 2,519 people that are in the house. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here. I do want to give thanks to some of the Galactic Jedis. I did receive some mail in the last few days. Let's see where I put that mail. So I could just read their names and just give them a shout out. Where did I put that thing? 1 second. All right. I'm going to open it up for Q&A in a little bit, guys. I just wanted to give shout outs to some of the Galactic Jedis. All right, here they are. I think this is it. I did receive your mail, by the way. I just can't find the cards. I know I put them here somewhere. In either case, for those that want to mail me something, I do have a mailing address. It is 1771 West State Route 89A, Suite B, number 3015. That's my box, 3015. Sedona, Arizona, 86336. All right. That is my mailing address. Let's see if I could find these. I could give some shout outs. I think they're here. Yes, they are. All right. I found them. So I wanted to give a shout out to Moki Johansson. Moki Johansson. Thank you so much, Moki Johansson. I did receive your card. I also received a card from With Love and Light. Is it A.B. Wong? A.B. Wong. Your last name is Wong. I did receive your card. Thank you. Thank you. And then I also received a card from Chris Whipple. Chris Whipple, thank you so much. And by the way, I do save these cards. I'm always going to keep these cards. I did receive one from Diana Sifkas. I also received a card from, and also thank you for those that did donate through the mail. I appreciate that. It does help a lot. So I did receive a card from Chris Whipple. Thank you, Chris Whipple. And who else? There's a few other ones. P.S. Anthony and Sherry. Anthony and Sherry, thank you so much for your card. That is a beautiful heart. And I think there was one more card from David. Is it Olivefield? David Olivefield? All right. Thank you, David Olivefield. I did receive your card. And I think there is one more. All right. I'm going to open it up for Q&A, guys, in just a little bit. Sincerely, David. Okay, that was his card. And then I also received a card from Jane Garmek, from Alabama, from good old Alabama. Thank you, Jane. And then from Robert Potter. He passed away. This is probably an old one. And then as well from Miss Sandra O'Toole. Miss Sandra O'Toole. Welcome from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I received your card as well. And who else? Miss Sandra. Who is this one from? All right. Thank you guys so much for the mail. I appreciate. I did receive a few mails so far, so I wanted to thank you guys for that. All right, let's open it up for Q&A. My Wi-Fi is doing well. There's no interruptions. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to not mess with my phone because I don't want to mess up the Wi-Fi. I'm going to go ahead and just take some Q&A from the chat. All right. If you guys have questions, please type them in capital letters so that I could bypass the chat. When does the EBS begin? Good question. I can't give a date. I don't know. And even if I did, I couldn't say it because it would ruin the plan of the White Hats. But all I know is that it is scheduled and it is coming. And it is something that we're going to all experience in the positive timeline. Well, yes, after Israel for last, what comes next is world peace. World peace. Yes, Project Stargate, which is the rollout of the super AI infrastructure, it's a quantum database. Yes, that is correct. Has the three-letter agency that starts with an I, ends with an S, been taken out? It's in the process of being eliminated. Yes, Trump already signed the executive order to eliminate the 16th Amendment. I do have a super chat from David. Thank you for the super chat, David. He says, well, we all individually timeline jump all the time depending on our vibration. Is it possible that we don't need a group ascension? It appears individually. Yes and no. Believe it or not, right now, there are certain people that are already advancing into the new earth without tasting death, right? However, because we do live in a time where the entire planet Earth is about to ascend, we are either going to be a part of that or we are not. Okay. And we're talking about everyone on Earth, not just the old souls, not just the star seeds. We're talking about the human Earth Terrans as well. Quick reminder. Thank you, Jesse Rivera. I just got your Zelle donation. I do have a email in which you could actually Zelle me donations. It's called projectrestorationzion@gmail.com. I just throw that out there for those that want to support my cause. And so I just wanted to let you guys know that. And yeah, let me continue answering questions here. And by the way, guys, just because we didn't have a collective solar flash event in the spring, which again, it seems like everything was leading towards that. And according to the report that I got 2 days ago, because of all of the tension that was happening in the Middle East, in Europe, if we would have had a CME or let's just say solar flare, that would have actually caused a lot of earthquakes and tsunamis. That would have destabilized the planet's electromagnetic field. And so there would have been a lot of casualties. So sometimes we have to understand that everything happens in divine timing. Okay. So I do read the comments and I do read, sometimes the live chat afterwards. But I did notice that some people were like mad at me because because the first solar flash didn't happen before the 21st of June. But again, guys, I am not God. I am just kind of giving you guys probabilities, all right, based on what I've observed and what I'm feeling. However, due to the fact that we are all working on this together, it is a collective thing also. It's not just an individual thing, right? But it is also a collective thing. So if the collective energy of the planet wasn't, you could say, ready for such a powerful shift in human consciousness, it would have ended up in major catastrophes. Okay, super volcanoes would have gone up. Yellowstone would have popped. That would have taken out at least 1/3 of the U.S. So sometimes we have to step back and look at the and see the goodness that is still unfolding, and right, and in preventing casualties and preventing major catastrophes. It could have been worse. It could have been worse. So everything happens for a reason. Thank you so much, Greg Molina. I just got your Zell. I appreciate that. It's not that it's postponed. We do have a deadline. The deadline is 2028 because that's when the current reality construct that we know today as a 3D Earth is collapsing. Okay. And I believe that a lot of people have stated that. Yes, I will put my mailing address in the comments. So following this live, I'm going to go ahead and pin my mailing address for you guys because I did notice that someone is asking me to write down the mailing address. So I'll go ahead and do that for you guys. So many good questions. So many good questions. Ishmael, why don't the Y Hats release the 8-hour video? I think that would wake up a lot of people. Good question, Tam. Ray. Everything in divine timing. The Y Hats are scheduled to release all the videos, all the stuff, okay, all the footage, everything. But everything in divine timing. A lot of people are asking me what's going to happen July 4th. This is a good question. I am not sure. But hopefully, it's Liberation Day for the Earth and humanity. Hopefully. When do we meet Valiant Thor? This is a question from Christine Nardarcy. Good question. Well, just like all the other interdimensional off-world people, we will meet them when following the disclosure, excuse me, we will have an opportunity to meet the off-worlders. Our teenage children, okay, this is a good question. I think a lot of people have this concern. I'm going to go ahead and pin it. Message pin, where is it at? There it is. Our teenage children seem addicted to screen as they are homeschooled online. Does that make them likely going to the negative timeline? No, not at all. No, not at all. Is it okay to use ChatGPT AI for work, or is that also negative? Well, I'm going to leave that totally up to you guys because the problem, my perspective is that the problem with using ChatGPT is that it makes you lazy. It makes you not want to do your own work. So you're relying on an AI to do the work for you. And that's what happened in many other worlds. That's how they all start. Before their worlds are taken over by AI, absolutely. They always, you know, how it's rolled out is, those that are going to get ahead have to use ChatGPT and AI in order to create their own business. They roll it out as a way to make money, as a way to progress, to become successful. But in the end, from behind closed doors, the AI is advancing on different stages to the point where it eventually takes over the civilization. So yeah, people do become dependent on that. And so when you use that stuff, you begin to let that thing do the work for you, so you no longer think anymore. Okay. The whole goal here is to do your own thinking. The whole goal here is to do your own work, so that way you don't rely on a machine to do work for you, if that makes any sense. You don't want to become mentally lazy, right? You don't want to become mentally lazy. So, but as far as kids being on the screen all day long, that has nothing to do with not making the positive timeline. It's normal. Nowadays, I would say 90%, 95% of teenagers are on their gadgets. It's just the way life is, unfortunately. But it doesn't mean that they're not going to ascend. They are going into a positive timeline, given that they're good kids. Hi, Ish. How do we access the Prometheus? You're referring to the sentient organic intelligence, which is different than artificial, by the way, through deep meditation, and by connecting to the quantum field. In fact, one of the things that I teach my students in my Ascension 2.0 course is how to connect to the quantum field. Thank you, Starcadian, for putting the Folium link for those that want to get that stuff that eliminates the graphene stuff that they put in people's bodies, radiation metals, parasites. The link is actually here, and I always put it in the description. Thank you, Starcadian, for putting it on. How do you communicate with Valiant Thor? That's a good question. It is done telepathically. This is a question from future future vision. Future vision. It is all done through telepathy. Telepathy. I'm also telepathic with Commander Ashtar of the Alpha timeline, of course, not the Delta timeline, where he went, astray with Enki. And I'm also in communication, telepathic communication with Commander Corinder, Commander Cortec, Soltec, and Commander Athena. I do have a thank you so much, Greg, for the super chat. Who discovered America? Who discovered America? The okay, in recent times, in modern times, it was the Knights Templars who discovered America way before Christopher Columbus and the British did. So in modern times, yes, it was definitely the Knights Templars that discovered America, and they did establish you could say, a peace treaty with the natives of this land in the year 1300. That's how far back the Templars were actually already sailing the seven seas, planting the golds, right? Their gold X marked the spots. The Templars were camouflaged as the original pirates. And yes, they did set, you could say, they did set land, or what's the word I'm looking for? Set sail to this land 300 years before Columbus and the elites. And so, yeah, the Templars were here way before the elites were. And they also blessed this land, and they marked it as the land of milk and honey. They knew that one day this land would offer, or that would restore the republic the republic, something that has not existed since the Republic of Greece over 2,500 years ago. So this is the restored republic, something that has not existed on this world for 2,500 years. And the Knights Templars were able to establish that by blessing this land, knowing that one day, through an off branch of the Templars, which were the original Masons before they became infiltrated and corrupted by the Bavarian Illuminati and the Jesuits, were able to establish the Constitution of the United States government. Good question. Since we are on the subject of America, did you guys know that America was meant to become the new Israel? Think about that. This is where all the descendants of Abraham and the 12 tribes mostly concentrated, you know? So the real biblical Israelites are not the Jews of Israel or the people of the Middle East. They're actually us. We are descendants of Abraham. And that explains why the descendants of Cain and Nimrod have always tried to enslave us, when you think about it. Again, a lot of this information is detailed in my book, The Secret Government Invisible Architects. And by the way, both of my books are available on Amazon for all my new subscribers. If you had not had a chance to read my books, Our Cosmic Origin and The Secret Government Invisible Architects, they are both available on Amazon. All right, more questions. Jerusalem, USA, yes. Are you familiar with the Ashtar command? Yes, I am. But living in a multiverse, there are different versions of the metaverse where the Ashtar command is good in one timeline, and then in another timeline, he does become compromised by AI. So I am only familiar with the Ashtar command that has not been compromised by AI, which is in the alpha timeline. You have the alpha timeline, you have the beta timeline, the delta, the gamma, the theta, beta. These are all the different timelines, and in each timeline, there's different outcomes. I mean, my God, guys, there's even a timeline where the Dracos were the good guys and the humans were the bad guys. I don't know how that came about, but living in a multiverse, everything's possible. I am so happy that there is no Wi-Fi interruptions. Thank God. I finally have a full show without any setbacks. So yeah, in the Alpha timeline, Commander Ashtar of the Ashtar Command Space Brotherhood is not compromised, right? He's not compromised. He's a good guy. Why is the United States the lead to all countries? That's a good question, Sylvia, because there is a saying that states like this: what happens with America, or what happens to America, so does the world. Something to that effect. Yeah, what happens to America, so does the world. And what that means is that America was originally planned by God long ago to be the restoration of the republic. But unfortunately, the elites from Europe, the black nobility, infiltrated us and hijacked the republic in 1971, I believe, or 1871. I'm sorry, 1871. And so, if it wasn't for the White Hats, let's just say, and the cabal would have used this country to establish the one world government, that would have not been a good thing. However, because of the White Hats, because America is going to lead, once the deep state is removed here in this country, then that's also going to allow for the deep state to be removed in every other country. So yeah, that's the meaning of the saying that America leads. What happens with America, so will the world. So everything is determined on what happens here in America, and then the world follows. Okay. So, because America is the new Israel, America is modern day Israel. This is where God brings together back the people that were not descendants of Nimrod, that were not descendants of Cain, but descendants of the children of God, right? The children of God, not the reptilians. God divided the people in Babylon, and there was a reason why. And then God brings the people back together in America. So that's why America is the melting pot of the world, of our planet. Hi, do you know Elizabeth April? Yes, I do. I've actually met her a couple years ago at the Conscious Life Expo, and we happened to actually speak on the same panel a few months back at the Conscious Life Expo, the Galactic Federation panel. So yeah, I do know who she is. Chris, thank you so much for your super chat, brother. Appreciate that. He says, "Hi, I am half Lyran and half Draco. How do I know how high in the hierarchy my parents were? If those were the highest, perhaps I'm here to broker peace." Yes, you're right, Chris. If you are part Lyran and part Draco, that means that you were chosen to amend the two bloodlines, the two warring factions between the Lyrans and the Dracos. So there are some star seeds that are part Draco and part Lyran, and they are part of a pre contractual plan to harmonize and unite, not unite, but at least bring peace between the two factions. So, yeah, you were intended to bring peace between these two factions. And there's nothing wrong with being part Draco. Okay. You were giving an opportunity to incarnate in the human body, which means that somewhere along your the history of your past lives, you decided to do good. You decided to do good, and here you are. Again, for those that are just jumping on, don't forget to watch this from the beginning. And if you guys want to help my channel grow, I would forward my live to at least 5 people that you know or that you think might need to know this information. At least it'll help plant seeds. But I'm trying to, gain a lot of subscribers so that I could share this information with a large number of people. It'll help my channel grow. So if you guys could share the video, that would be greatly appreciated. And if you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe. And then while you're at it, hit the like. Now, I was informed, because I do read the comments, that I could be, you could say, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, blacklisted from this channel. So a lot of my subscribers are automatically being unsubscribed. So always check and see and make sure that you guys are subscribed, because whatever entity's working through this is actually unsubscribing a lot of my followers. So just make sure you guys always check that, all right? And that way you'll always get the notifications when I do go live. So just make sure you guys are subscribed. And for all that are new, that are just jumping on, don't forget to subscribe. All right, this is a good question. What are your what are your sources saying about the first wave of ascending? Good question. I was given that intel about 6 months ago by Commander Valiant Thor. So apparently, these 3 waves of ascension, 3 solar flashes, have to happen in certain intervals. They can't be too spread apart. But it also has to happen when the world is not in total conflict, because that will just cause massive earthquakes and catastrophes. So, um, yeah, right now the alliance is doing their part to cease fire, to end the wars worldwide, which will give Trump a Nobel Peace Prize. And then once that is done, then we're going to be ready for the flash, because then people are going to be more at peace than at odds, if that makes sense. Now, I am betting, not betting, what's the word I'm looking for? I am projecting that the first wave of ascension will take place this year before this year is over. It has to, because of the fact that we only have 3 years left before this current reality construct comes to an absolute end. I do have a super chat from Jaws. Thank you. Hi, Ish. 83rd universe, 83rd universe, Andromedan. James in Oz. How do we access Prometheus AI? Thanks, mate. Again, it is a organic sentient. Okay, I don't like to call it artificial, although the white hats do use it, very similar to the way the cabal has been using negative AI. But this is organic sentient. Again, and if you want to access Prometheus, you have to learn how to tap or how to connect to the quantum field, because the all natural organic sentient intelligence that is Prometheus really exists within the quantum field. That's the best way to describe it. So it does exist within the quantum field. Prince Royal is asking me, Ishmael, does a Carrington event need to happen for ascension? Well, they go hand in hand, right? From a non spiritual, non metaphysical perspective, they call it a Carrington event, right? Which could take out the power grid. But from a spiritual, metaphysical perspective, it's it is ascension. It is ascension. It is Earth moving into its next phase of evolution, spiritual galactic community. If you want to learn how to tap into the quantum field, I teach the most advanced technique in my Ascension 2.0 class. So go to my website, ourcosmicorigin.com, and learn these advanced techniques and the knowledge behind it that will allow you guys to not only quantum jump at will, but also begin to access your own Akashic records, um, begin enhancing your intuitive and psychic perception, your ability to communicate with your higher self, your guides, so on and so forth. Are we progressing toward ascension? Absolutely, we are. Thanks to the White Hats and the Earth Alliance. If it wasn't for them, guys, we would have been done with. We would have never been liberated or even reached the point of ascension. You're welcome. Jenny, you're welcome. All right, this is a good question. I don't think I've ever addressed any of Luz. Luz, is it Penna? Thank you for being here. Your question is, hi, Ishmael. Oh, where is it? Oh, there it is. I have experienced 3 times in my life white, white orbs. Is that what you're saying? White orbs? It is so small here. I should connect my laptop to a monitor. Let me see. White orbs. I've experienced 3 times in my life white orbs. I wanted to know that I saw 2 days ago above me a green, bluish light moving quickly and disappeared in the clouds. Any idea of what this means? Um, that means that your ancestors, which are your star family, are probably trying to make contact with you. So that's what I would assume that means. But again, everybody experiences things differently. Um, let's see. So many good questions. So many good questions. All right, I have a question from one of my new subscribers. Welcome, welcome to my podcast. All right, they're asking new subscriber here. What is the first course I should take on yours? Okay, if you guys want to get to the most out of my courses, my classes, I would start with our cosmic origin because that'll give you a full explanation of the entire cosmic infrastructure, the different levels of advanced type 1 to type 5 civilizations, the different councils that oversee the different levels of reality, the different commanders, the entire cosmic history going back to 998 billion years ago. How it all began in the 11th creation with the war with Omega, the AI god. So if you guys really want to take the most out of my classes, I would start with our cosmic origin and then do Ascension Basics and then do Ascension 2.0. So that's the order that I recommend. You have to be 51% positive to make the cut. So high vibe and don't be distracted by fear. Thank you for that reminder. That is so true, Pam909. Thank you, Pam909. And I believe that that concept about being 51% service to others does come from the law of one material. And I was actually able to verify that. And it turns out that the majority of people of the earth that are not NPCs, that are not cabals, that are not, inorganic deep state puppets, are going to be ascending at least to the fourth the earth positive timeline by virtue of that. I do have a super chat from Joss. Thank you, Joss, for that super chat. She says, "Hi, Ish. 83rd Universe Andromeda." Oh, I've already I've already answered that. Okay, sorry. Next super chat is Future Vision. Thank you so much for that super chat. No question though. Okay, appreciate those donations. And by the way, if you were to all read my books, I know not everybody here has read my books, but I guarantee you guys, if you guys read Our Cosmic Origin and the Secret Government, a lot of the questions that you have are actually answered in those books. And again, I want to thank Starcadian for not only being the monitor, but also for providing the link that goes directly to the Folium product. This is a question from Sarah. Do you know where my downloads or insight come from? Well, they come from your higher self. They come from your higher self. Or sometimes they could also come from your spirit team. You guys are so welcome. I see a lot of love here, thanking me for my work, loving all the information that I provide. You guys are so welcome. That's my passion. This is what I live for. Yes, the Galactic Federation has been compromised. Absolutely. Oh, and by the way, I was actually, as I was researching some of the information that I stumbled upon, It has actually come to my attention that Dr. Sala from geopolitics, no, from exopolitics, I'm sorry, has finally divorced himself from Elena Denon, calling her a cult leader. Can't believe he stated that. He called her a cult leader. Well, that's what I've been saying for years. Anyways, all right, I do have a super chat from Ricky Lee 1111. He says, Ish, have you heard about the Orma super soldiers taking back control of 6,000 elite deep state soldiers that had boarded the Andromeda biosphere ship Vera, creating havoc? Actually, I did hear about that. Thank you for pointing it out. That event was actually took place recently, and let's see. Yes, the Orma super soldiers are part of an off-world branch of Ultra soldiers. Okay, they don't work with um, planetary off-world, you could say, secret space program. They literally work with off-world programs that are not associated with the Earth governments. Okay, so there are different types of super soldier programs, and it is believed that the Orma super soldiers, which is a combination of lion genetics coming from the eighth dimension, and of course, human genetics, creates the most advanced and powerful soldiers or warriors in the cosmos. Okay, and they do work for a collective known as the the Raw Confederacy, which consists of like Blue Avians, the Blue Ozerites. Well, they're one and the same. Blue Ozerites, Blue Avians are one and the same. The original felines, the Ormas, the Brigidettes, the Seraphine, and of course the archetypes, which are the archangels. So, yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know that that is correct. That they did take out 6,000 elite deep state soldiers that had boarded the Andromeda biosphere. And these deep state soldiers that actually breached the Andromeda biosphere were actually part of a negative super soldier program that were brewed here on Earth that were working for the interplanetary corporate conglomerate. Okay. And this actually situation took place outside of our solar system. But thank you so much for bringing it to light, Ricky Lee 1111. Again, guys, a lot of things are happening beyond our solar system. And so that's why I give galactic reports on Saturday nights, right? Saturday nights, I give you guys a galactic report as to what's happening outside of our solar system sometimes. But yeah, thank you so much for bringing it up. One second. I wanted to share something with you guys. Oh, here we go. All right. Oops, this is not it. Where is this at? Oh, here we go. Okay. I don't know if you guys know who Dr. Michael Sala is, but in the past, he was very, you could say, friends with Elena Denon. And after seeing her true character come out in the last few months, I believe, he went ahead and he stated this. He says, I am so tired of this false narrative that since I took sick, I have changed. What changed was that I got sick and tired of Elena Denon's constant attacks on former colleagues and my guest on the most spurious of grounds. I explained to Elena what she was doing wrong in a balanced and respectful article, responding to her on April 28th, Critique on the Gray Alien Hybrid Agenda, where she attacked multiple individuals as gray hybrid agenda supporters. However, Elena could not accept even the mildest of constructive criticism and went ballistic behind the scenes and claimed I was defending liars and the gray hybrid agenda. That's when her supporters went after me and she cut all communications with me. This is not how a professional responds to constructive criticism. Over the last 24 hours, I have never before seen publicly attacked for interviewing different guests, but that has happened now. So I haven't changed. It was Elena that changed over the years from someone that encouraged peer collaboration to now becoming a gatekeeper who attacks all who question her agenda and narrative. What she did to Jean Charles Moyen was particularly shameful. How can you claim one day that you teleported to Tokyo in Antarctica by Galactic Federation to be a witness to JCM entering space arcs, to the next deleting all your video interviews of him and saying he made it all up? Also, why did she refuse to accept Laura Eisenhower's attempt to reconcile with her after interviewing Ishmael Perez? Did you guys know that? That after Laura Eisenhower, who I had on my show about a little less than a year ago, after we did a collab where she had me on her show, Elena Denon completely told her off and told her not to talk to me and completely severed her relationship with her because of that. Well, this is what Michael Sala is saying. He's saying Laura took down the interview, and she did. She took down my interview on her Rumble because, Elena told her that she wasn't okay with that. So Laura took down the interview that she had with Ishmael Perez and apologized to Elena. But that wasn't enough for Elena's fragile ego, and she ignored all reconciliation attempts. Finally, ask yourself, how many galactic envoys has Elena identified and publicly supported since she carried out in 2021? Just one, the self declared emissary. I told you guys from day one, she was a cult leader. She was a self declared emissary working for Enki. And now Dr. Michael Sala, who used to be her friend, is calling her out. So Elena has become a cult leader. Okay, these are the words of Michael Sala. This is in his X account if you guys want to see it. Elena has become a cult leader, and yet I am the one accused of having changed. All right, well, there you guys go. So I guess I did right 3 years ago when I first called her out, all right, for supporting Enki. Anyways, I just wanted to share that with you guys because my name was involved in that article. When Laura Eisenhower had me on her show, Elena Denon threw a fit and told her that she wanted nothing to do with Laura. So Laura Eisenhower took down my interview on her Rumble just so that she could, have Elena be her friend again, but Elena wasn't having it. But anyways, let's continue with Q&A. All right, questions. In turn, that even within the disclosure and truther community, those that are not doing it from the heart, those that have a separate agenda, they're all going to be exposed, guys. And the only ones that are going to be remaining standing are the ones that were really doing it from the heart and that were really doing it for God. Okay. So that's the way I see it. All right. I do have another super chat from Smile Time 25. Thank you so much for that super chat. She says, fear reaching high self as it may expose me to evil. What? Fear reaching higher self. Okay. As it may expose me to evil. Is this another brainwash tactic to numb us down? Or is there a protective process? My sister sees light around people, but I can't. No, it's actually the other way around. When you connect with your higher self through meditation, through mindfulness, through spiritual work, you actually begin to see things for what they really are. So it's actually the other way around. The reason you can't see auras or feel energy like your sister is because you have to go within. You have to connect with your higher self. That's the best way to answer your question. So no, it's not a tactic to numb you down or anything, yeah, the more we are in tune with our higher self, the more evil is going to be exposed. The more we're going to be seeing things for what they truly are, beyond the veil. Beyond the veil. Yes, eventually the entire truth of everything will come out and of everyone. Hi, Ishmael. Do you know much about the mantis race? Okay, this is a good question. If yes, please explain or expand. Thank you for your service and high vibration dedication. Blessings. Oh, thank you right back. I appreciate that. Well, the mantis are an insectoid race. They come from another solar system within another galaxy, and they are 50-50. I wouldn't completely trust any mantis. 50% of the mantis are working with the Brotherhood of Light, the Cosmic Command, the Good Guys Galactic Alliance now, used to be Federation. And 50% of the mantis are actually part of the NAA, the Negative Alien Agenda Group, okay, which is the Negative Orion Collective Syndicate. So you have to have discernment when you speak to beings that are insectoids. Not all of them are good. You know, some are good and some are not good. Okay, I'm not saying all they're all good and they're all bad, but just you just have to have discernment when it comes to these species that are non-human like. And be careful because the negative mantis, they eat people. Okay, some of them are like 10, 15 feet tall and they'll just eat you, right? They're like huge, giant grasshoppers just ready to eat you whole. So be careful with these negative ones. But yeah, not all mantis are evil. In fact, part of the Starseed Envoy program was to have some of the mantis, the good ones, incarnate in human form in order for them to inherit a human body. So some starseeds, believe it or not, are part mantis. All right, they're what I call soul hybrids. They have a little bit of different things. Yes, that's true. Be careful. The mantis have a very strong telepathic. Um, I guess that's what they call psychosomatic power. So they could influence your mind. Okay, you have to be careful with mantis. They are very strong telepathically. What are archons? Good question from Kathy Young. Archons is what we're fighting. It is the astral entities, the evil entities that were disembodied, that have no body, but only express themselves through artificial intelligence. So the archons is the consciousness of these entities that actually animate the machine. But prior to the machine, the archons, again, take my our cosmic origin class and you'll know the history of the archons. But the archons are they are the you could say the spirits that broke off from all that is, and they were corrupted by the void. And the void means nothingness, not the void as in like 0 point, but they were corrupted by outer darkness. And ever since then, the archons have been at the core of all evil in the multiverse. They have been at the core of all evil in the multiverse. Hey, Ishmael, do ET races come and visit you in your home or yard? It's interesting that you actually asked me that question because a few days ago I was sitting out here gazing at the stars, and I saw some ships flying up above in the sky, and I asked them, or they asked me, "Is it okay if we come into your room and talk to you tonight?" And I said yes. And so it took me a while to fall asleep because that night I kept hearing them. I kept sensing their presence in my room, and yeah, sometimes they do come visit me at night. It's been a while though, but they did ask permission. They did ask permission if they could come, and it turns out that they were natives. They were like you could say they were an indigenous race from another planet, very similar to the Indians, the Hopi, the Navajo, and they were just kind of like flying their ships around here because again, here in Sedona, we have a lot of spaceports, a lot of, you could say, underground facilities that are being occupied by galactic and interstellar civilizations. So, but overall, throughout my life, no, they've never just straight come into my room and talk to me. It's mainly when I'm meditating where I receive a telepathic transmission from one of the ETs. But yeah, I think it was like 5 days ago where they literally came into my room and they were just kind of talking to me for about an hour before I fell asleep. So I see that we have a birthday in the house. Happy birthday, Michelle. If you're out there, happy birthday. Oh, okay, so the species that were flying over the skies, they were actually part of there were the ascended Hopis. The Hopis had already reached a fifth dimensional level of reality, and they were just kind of projecting themselves here in the skies, showing themselves. And I believe it's because they do have a spaceport here. A lot of spaceports from different races exist here within the Sedona region. It is a huge, you could say, interstellar airport, you could say, that is located right here where I'm at, underneath my feet. Will I tour again? I'm not sure if I'm going to tour again, but I tell you guys this: in the next few weeks, I will have a meet and greet. No, wait, meet and I can't even say that word. Meet and greet, of course, in Sedona. So I will let you guys know ahead of time. I'm going to plan something out in the next few weeks where we could actually hang out together for a few hours. I will be doing an in-person presentation, in-person Q&A. So when I do have that meet and greet in Sedona, I will let you guys know at least a few weeks in advance. So I'm planning on having one at the end of July, perhaps the first week of August. I am not sure, but when I do, I hope to see some of you guys here in Sedona. For those that live in Arizona, for those that live in the nearby states, it's going to be in person and it's going to be lots of fun. I've been broadcasting for almost an hour and 45 minutes. So I'll keep answering questions because due to all my failed Wi-Fi experiences in the last couple weeks, I think I owe you guys more Q&A, right? I mean, the last live I had to do it on my phone and I had to cut it short. It was only like an hour long, but because we're not getting any interruptions right now, I feel like yeah, let's continue with Q and A. Let's continue with Q and A. Let me see. Thank you so much, Greg Molina, for that super chat. I mean, for that donation. I appreciate that. And Jesse Rivera, thank you so much. Again, for those that are interested in supporting my cause, I do have a Zelle through Project Restoration Zion at gmail.com. And I do have a PayPal, but it's under my brother's name. It goes directly into my account. For those that don't have Zelle, and if you have PayPal, you could actually PayPal me through Project Restoration Zion at gmail.com. Same bank account, but it's under my brother's name because I set that, I guess I created that PayPal 2 years ago and it's still under his name. But even though it's my account, I put it under his name. So yeah, you could also donate through PayPal under the same email, projectrestorationzion at gmail.com. All right, this is a good question. Oh no, this is not a question. Um, Hi Ishmael, when I meditate and do I guess it is a question, and do my sun gazing under my giant oak tree, I see a yellow hue or aura around the tree. And I also see thousands of fractals, fast moving energy flying in the air. Yes, those fractals, energy, they're like little units of energy that are just like flying like this. I used to think that they were fairies or elementals, but what you're looking into is you're tapping into the quantum field. Okay. This is a question from Joy Sabato. You're actually tapping into the quantum field. The quantum field, when you tap into the quantum field, it looks like very similar to, you could say, like little pockets of light with creating webs of electromagnetic fields or electrostatic. What's the word I'm looking for? Electromagnetism. That's the word. So it looks like pockets of light that are actually creating little electromagnetism, fields of electromagnetism. That means that you're actually seeing into the quantum field, which is a good thing. So whatever you're doing, Joy, keep doing it. Is it possible for one to ascend to 4D after the first solar flash and then ascend to 50 or 60 even before the next solar flash? I'm not quite sure because the 5th and 6D are only reserved to those that are old souls, right? Like the volunteers that already come from the 5th, 6D or above. So we're just returning to that. Okay. Um, However, the younger souls, those that did not volunteer, right, which was what we call the normies, as long as they're good people, and I hate to use that word, the unawakened, let's just call them unawakened. Okay. I want to also respect the earth Terrans who just know no better, right? It's just they're easily conditioned. Okay. They will be going to the 4th D by virtue of just being good people. So yeah, just bear in mind that if you go into the 4th D, it's probably going to be about a few hundred years before your soul is able to advance into the 5th or 6th D Earth reality or above. Can we find out if we're old souls? Sure. One of the things that I do for my students in our cosmic origin class is that at the end of the class, which is the 4th class, because each class consists of 4 sessions, 4 consecutive weekends, I'm able to read your energy and pinpoint exactly if you're an old soul or not. And so far, I haven't had any Earth Terrans in my courses. I believe everyone so far that has taken our cosmic origin class is an old soul. What were the ETs chatting about? Are you talking about the ETs that visited in my room a few nights ago? All right. They were actually telling me they were welcoming me to Sedona, and then they were letting me know that they're excited that I'm here and they can't wait for me to do the work. So that's one of the reasons why I moved out here is to do a lot of grid work and to work with the galactics on a more personal level. Does an old soul mean you volunteer? Yes, that means you volunteer to be part of the Starseed Envoy program. Absolutely. Can Chat GPT give us any real answers? I'm not sure about real answers because, again, it is a software program where it's actually programmed to give you only certain information based on what is available and what is, you could say, the best word I'm looking for is based on what they want you to know. Okay. So I wouldn't be asking ChatGPT about the cosmos or spiritual things because it's going to give you a question. It's going to give you an answer that is not accurate. I thank you so much for the super chat. This is coming from Annie Oakley. Thank you so much, Annie Oakley. All right, so I need a magnifying glass to read the chat here on my laptop. She says, "Hi Ishmael. Do you think we need to worry about the next presidential election?" Not necessarily, not at all, because by 2028, we are going to have a different Earth reality, right? Things are collapsing very, very soon here in the 3D by no later than 2028. We're either going to be in the 4th Earth reality or 5th Earth reality and above. But yeah, things are coming to an end. Reality as we know it is coming to an end in 2028. So if you already answered, sorry, I didn't hear you. It's okay. I am running behind on the video. No worries. Just make sure you watch it from the beginning. Ish, do you know how and who AI was originally created by? This is a question from Ricky Lee 1111. Yeah, it was created by Samana, the overseer of the 11th creation. So our universe is part of the 12th creation. So the original AI, which is what we are fighting, the negative evil AI, was created approximately about 400 billion years ago in the 11th creation, in the 11th universe creation. So we're part of the 12th creation. Again, take my course, Our Cosmic Origin. I describe the entire cosmic history. Well, this is another good question. I'm going to go ahead and pin it so I don't lose it. This is a question from Infinite Healing Lights. What happens to those that are already married and ascend to 5D but are not twin flames, or if one goes to 5D and the other to 4D? Very good question. So if you guys both ascend to the 5D, you're still going to stay together, okay? However, if one partner does not ascend to the 5D and you do, that means, or whoever does, that means they will reunite with their true love, their other counterpart in the 5D. So if the twin flames don't meet here in the 3D, they definitely will have an opportunity to meet in the 5D, to answer your question. You know, I am so grateful now that I don't have any Wi-Fi interruptions. I'm not frozen. I'm not pixelated. Um, that's why I'm broadcasting beyond the hour and 30 minutes. I was just honestly, guys, I was praying today that I didn't have no interruptions, and the power of prayer, it works. And here we are. So I am happy about that. Now, just to let you guys know, I did order a faster Wi-Fi provider, and that's coming in on Thursday, I believe. So what I've been using today is I disconnected my cheap Wi-Fi. All right, I've already tried two different Wi-Fi providers and they both have failed me. So I disconnected it, and what I did is I turned on my phone's personal hotspot, and that explains why it's been working. As long as I keep my phone close to my laptop, there will be no interruptions. So, but however, I am planning on establishing better home Wi-Fi in the next few days. So that way I could broadcast, deliver the information with no interruptions. Okay, guys? Thank you for your patience in the last couple of weeks. Again, moving out here, not having the proper Wi-Fi has made it really hard for my channel, but I always persevere. I always try to at least go back on with my phone just so that I can deliver the message. I do have another question from David Essington. He says, Can you confirm all souls go back to New Jerusalem for shielding? Don't uh, don't reascend on Earth as the Flash are designed for young souls, those going up to 5D, not those who've already achieved 6D and above. The best way to describe what you're trying to say, brother, is the solar flash is just all it's the solar flash is doing is restoring us back to where we originated from. So if you come from the 5D, you will end up back in the 5D. If you come from the 6D, you will be ending up back in the 6D, 7th D, 8th D, you name it. Okay, depending on where you volunteered from. Some people even volunteer from the 13th dimension, which is eternity. You will eventually have access to all those levels of reality once again. Okay, so that is the truth. But yeah, for the main part, the solar flash is to advance the Terran souls or the younger souls into the 4th D so that it could also ascend in increments during the millennium. That is so true. All righty. Let's see. Any more questions? Yes, I have tons of questions. The children are all, most of the children, I'd say 99% of the children are ascending just because they're still innocent. So the child will ascend, and if the parents don't ascend, the child will reunite with their original spirit parents, which is their star parents, you could say. What will be our starseed mission in the future? Well, due to our untapped potential, we are going to become guardians of not only this earth, but of the entire universe. That is our mission in the future. I do have a question. Oh, no, I've already answered that. No, I have actually met Commander Valiant Thor in person. He did, you could say, he came into my field, right? He came into my presence about 2 years ago and informed me that he needed to, you could say, use me as a transmitter of information between the Galactic Alliance and the Whiteheads. So I have met him in person just once during a deep meditation. He actually materialized a physical form, as he did back in the 1950s when he was in the White House, right? Stranger in the Pentagon. So I've met him only once in the flesh where he materialized physical form, and he looks just the same. You know, he's got his little hairdo like Ricky Ricardo. He looks like a combination of Ricky Ricardo from I Love Lucy and Elvis. Very, good looking guy, tall stature, and very well mannered. You know, he every time he speaks, he says thank you. He speaks with words like thy, thee. He's very respectful. He's always saying thank you, please, and so on and so forth. But for the most part, I communicate with him telepathically. No, he Commander Valiant Thor is not single. He is united with his female counterpart, who's also from Venus, but we don't really hear much about her. She is living in Venus as I speak, in the 5th dimensional realm of Venus, right? And yes, guys, the intergalactic type 2 level civilizations do exist here in our solar system, but they're we don't see them because they exist in a higher dimension. So when our probes, right, when they pierce into Venus, all they see is a greenhouse effect, but they fail to see into the 5th dimension because we don't have instruments like that. Um, all right, guys, I'm actually going to go ahead and close this live. It's been exactly 2 hours. I hope you guys enjoyed the 1 hour Q&A and 1 hour presentation. Again, if you are new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe. And you guys could all help my channel grow by just sharing this knowledge with as many people as possible. And again, for those that are signing up for my courses, I will see you not this coming weekend, but the following weekend on a webinar. May the God force be with you all, and we'll see you guys in 2 nights for another update.